Hello everyone, welcome to Coder and Boots. So in this video we are going to discuss about the topic how to host multiple websites in a single Apache server. So I have already created a similar topic of like how to host multiple websites in Nginx server. I think that several people watched it. I think it looks like this is kind of an interesting video for or kind of a topic that a lot of people are looking for. So here I am basically explaining a similar topic, which is to host multiple websites in an Apache server. So Apache server and Nginx. So Apache and Nginx are like basically two of the popular web servers available in the industry. So it's mainly due to its stability and it's basically like free to use. So Nginx has a plus version, which is a paid version, but there is a free version as well, which is widely used in the industry. Apache server is basically, as the name says, it's basically the source code itself is open. So Apache web server, okay. So it's a free software. So it's widely used in the market. If you see most of the hosting services, one of these servers will be available by default. Okay, so I have used Apache and Nginx like in several of my projects. Almost every project I'll have one of these running. It's because for proxying the endpoints we use like one of these. So and it's kind of like it serves not just hosting websites. It serves as a proxy. It serves as like ingress. So many uses are there for these web servers. Okay, so let's get into the detail. So before getting into the practical session, this is going to be mostly a practical session where I'll be showing the configuration. So before getting into that, I'll just explain the fundamentals. Okay, so when we install the Apache server by default, okay, so or Apache or Nginx, when we start the web server, what will happen? It will start a service internally in that machine, and it will listen on by default port 80. Okay, so we can configure it. This is a configuration, and it will be serving on HTTP request. Okay, so we can basically enable HTTPS by adding SSL certificate, but like if you are not adding SSL certificate, by default it will start in port 80 accepting HTTP request. Okay, and by default whatever IP or the host name of that machine, it will accept request on that particular host name or the IP address of the machine. So if you hit that URL, what will happen? You will be able to access the machine directly. So that's the behavior. So what we need to do is, so here let's say there can be use cases where you wanted to host multiple websites, okay, or multiple APIs, okay, so which will have to be rendered on different domain names, okay, on a single server. So instead of deploying it on multiple servers, we can share a single server for the deployment of all these, and each can be managed with separate configurations as well. So I've been doing this for almost 15 years now. So because initially when I started, I was also not aware of this virtual host configuration. So that time I used to create subfolders and I used to manage all the proxies under the same domain. But later I was in kind of need to attach multiple domains and host it under like separate subdomains and domains. Then I learned configuration of this virtual host, and it is kind of very useful. Okay, so let's get into that. So how it works is basically we will keep separate configurations for every domain. So that is something called virtual host. Okay, so why it is called virtual host? We have a host, physical host, and inside that we using software, using the configuration, we are virtually creating host. Okay, host means we will have domain name 1. So we will have separate domain names under this. Okay, so let's name 1. Okay, similarly domain name 2. Like this, we can have n number. N number means practically based on the configuration of the servers, we can have any number of virtual hosts. and I myself have deployed like 30-40 kind of virtual host in a single server itself. So depending upon the capacity of the server and the load or the traffic that you are or the traffic that is reaching these domains, you will be able to size the server. Okay, so but if it is very lightweight or simple website kind of thing, you can have like so many virtual hosts attached to a single server itself. So what this web server will do is, basically based on the domain name, the request will come, okay, and then it will be routed to the corresponding website or APIs or anything. Okay, so every under every domain name there will be a specific configuration file, and based on the configuration it will work as a separate web server. Okay, so you can have separate logs, separate proxies, separate configurations, for example compressions, right, security settings, header overridings, all those kind of configurations we can keep it under separate configuration file for each of these domains. Okay, so that means it is equivalent to managing multiple web servers but under the same web server. So now let's get into the practical session. So I have a Linux machine here. So this is an on-premise based machine. This is basically a computer with me. So what I'm going to do is I need to first check whether the port 80 is busy or not. So I think the Nginx is already running here. Let me check whether Nginx is running already. Yeah, Nginx is running. So I need to stop this Nginx first, because Nginx is already using port 80. Okay, so I just stopped Nginx. Now I need to install Apache. The command is apt install Apache 2. Okay, so this is an Ubuntu operating system, that's why I'm using this, but in case of Red Hat it is yum install httpd. Okay, so in case of Ubuntu it is apt install Apache 2. Okay, so I'm installing it right now. So it is downloading the package from the remote repository. So this Apache 2 package or httpd package is available by default in the operating system repository. Okay, so now the package is getting downloaded and getting installed in the machine. Service Apache 2 status, it is not running, so let's start. Okay, so once I start, what will happen is it will basically start the server. Okay, so it's showing some error. What is this? Protocol not available. Let me try to restart it once again. Okay, so now it started. Okay, so it was because of an external firewall problem. So now it started. So now let's see whether we can accept it. So it's basically a local server at my site, 192.168.1.148. This is the IP address of the server, and if you see the browser, you can see the Apache page opening up. Okay, so this is the IP address. I hit the IP address directly and it started coming. Okay, so this is the default page of Apache. Now what I need to do is I'm going to create host two websites. Okay, so two websites, what I'll do is I'll just create simple HTML and then I'm going to create under this. So the configuration of this Apache 2 is present in cd/etc/apache 2. Okay, if you go inside this directory, you will see apache2.conf, that's the default configuration. Then conf available, conf enabled, sites available, sites enabled. It is similar to our Nginx. So we need to basically add custom configurations under this to make it or customize it based on our need. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's get inside sites enabled. Okay, so because if you add a configuration under this, what will happen is it will automatically pick up. Okay, so because in the Apache 2 conf, if you see Apache 2 conf, so there will be, so let's see, so if you see this include, right, mode enabled. Okay, let's see, there will be include for all configurations that is under specific directory. Yeah, if you see this include optional, sites enabled star.conf, similarly conf enabled star.conf. That means basically any file, any configuration file with the extension .conf under this conf enabled or sites enabled directory, will be loaded by default, okay, because that's why they have given include optional to this directory. So what we are going to do is we are going to add a virtual host configuration under sites enabled, okay, sites enabled directory. So we are going to create configuration files under sites enabled directory. So the location I am repeating again, it is /etc Apache sites enabled, okay. So the virtual host configuration I have already noted down in or prepared in my notepad. So it looks something like this, okay. So we need to modify it based on our need. So first is like, the main important thing is server name, okay. Server name is basically what, this is the domain name that we have to give, okay. I'm going to give a custom domain, okay, first site, my first site, okay, my first site. So what we need is whatever domain you are mentioning here, it need to be attached to your IP address, okay. So in the DNS configuration, you need to attach this particular your IP address of the server to this particular domain name, okay. So, and I am going to create two sites, okay, where www html, okay, no, I am going to create my first rst site, okay. This is my first document directory. Similarly, I will frame a second configuration. So here, so the server admin, basically here you will need to pass the email address of your site admin. So whatever is a valid email address, right? So if you pass it here, what will happen is the admin will receive the emails related to this particular domain, okay. So domain means basically if there is anything going wrong or anything, right, those kind of things will come to this email address. For this email to go, you need the mail server configured in your machine, okay. So I'm not going to explain that in this case, and I'm not going to configure any mail over here. So I'm going to basically configure server name, document root, error log, and the custom log, okay. So what I'm going to do here is, in the Apache log directory, this is my first site related error, right, first site underscore error, and this is first site access log, right, site underscore access log, okay. So this is my first site configuration. Similarly, I am going to do the same thing for second site as well. So this is like my second site, and document root I am going to give site, and this is site underscore error, and the access log I am going to give second site underscore access, okay. So this is the configuration. So I'll keep two configuration files. So in the first file, I'll keep this configuration. In the second file, I'm going to keep this configuration, okay. So before that, we need to do something basically to create the domain mapping, okay. So in this case, I am using a server within my network. So because of that, what I'll do is I'll do the domain mapping within my system itself. So how to do that? Basically, you have to go under the C drive, Windows, okay. Then there is something called system32, okay. System32, under system32 there is something called etc. This is only required in case of like if you are not having any DNS server locally. But if you have a DNS server, okay, so in that scenario what you have to do is you will have to open the domain service, okay, and then from there, so there is a direct, wait, and there you need to do this mapping. I'll show you that as well. So first let me complete this. There is a folder etc over here, okay, system32 drivers, then etc, okay. So the directory is C Windows system32 drivers etc. I'm going to edit the host file. So this need administrative privilege, so open with, I'm going to edit in notepad, okay. So it will ask for administrative privilege, so let me open it in notepad itself. So I'm going to add the entry. So first IP address 192.168.1.148, then my site. Okay, same itself, my site. Okay, two names pointing to the same IP address. Okay, so I'm going to save it back. Okay, so it's basically the same file itself. Okay, so this needs admin privilege. So what I'll do is basically I'll have to open as administrator. Notepad++. Let's try this with Notepad++. Now basically I am able to open the IP address directly on my browser. So first site. Okay, so here if you see, as we have not configured the virtual host, what's happening is both are opening the same site itself. So now what we need is we need to make the configurations required for hosting two different sites, right? So let's create the configuration file, site1.conf. Okay, so I'm creating the site1.conf, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this configuration file, whatever we have prepared previously, and paste it inside site1 configuration file. Okay, my first site. Okay, now httpd okay, okay, so now let's add the second configuration file as well, site2 conf. Okay, so here site2.conf, what we'll do, we will just add this one. Okay, the second configuration file. Now we need to do two more things. One is we need to create the directory for document root directory for the first site, and also we need to do the same thing for the second site. -p first site, then mkdir-p, then the same for the second site. Okay, now we have to create the HTMLs. Okay, so as I am going to create like a simple website, what I am going to do is I am just going to use a simple HTML. Welcome to my first website. Okay, index.html. So in this HTML, I am going to keep welcome to first site. Okay, your domain one is hosting is working. Okay, similarly I am going to go back to the second site. Okay, so then here index.html, I am going to create the index.html for the second site. So what I'll do is I'll use the same HTML, and here what I'll do is instead of domain 1, I'm going to give to my second site. Okay, and here your domain 2 virtual host is working. Right, now let's restart Apache. Okay, so it restarted. Now let's see what happens in the browser. So I reloaded my first site. You see, success, your domain 1 virtual host is working. If you see this, okay, now what I'll do instead of first site, I'll do second site. Okay, you see, success, your domain 2 virtual host is working. Okay, so that means, see, and whatever, like I mean the title bar thing, whatever we gave, so it is second site, and here if you see, it is the first site. Okay, so that means like this, I mean we can have n number of sites deployed. Okay, and all configurations, it's very easy. And another thing, so right now we have seen the website part. Now let's see the log part. Okay, here if you see var log, If you go to Apache 2, you will see logs for first site and second site. You see access log and error log, this is for the default things, and then first site access log, first site error log, okay, second site access log, second site error log. Okay, so first site access log, if you see, okay, see I have made one request previously, right? That is what you see here. So one from 192 168 1.73, it received a request. Okay, so it will have all these logs separately, and also if you want to make configurations like compression enablement or any authentication or SSO, all those configurations we can have it at the domain level. We can add those configurations under the VirtualHost and it will act based on that configuration. So I hope this example is useful. So this is kind of like, I mean, a configuration or a setup that is used in almost all software applications. If you are working on a web application, or if you are working on Kubernetes or anywhere, right? So you will use either like Nginx or Apache. Okay, so I hope this is useful. If you have any questions or comments or feedbacks, please feel free to comment below this video. I'll definitely respond back to you. Thank you very much.